Back Issues, the comic book review and discussion series where I explain a comic that I read like 20 years ago to two guys who didn't read them when they were growing up. I'm Sal.
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Ben.
Today we're going to discuss Superman for All Seasons. We're just doing a book I like. Today I'm just like,
I've never heard of this.
I like this. Let's
Okay.
talk about how much I like this episode.
Sweet.
This is from 1998. It was right after, well, like a year or two after Batman Long Halloween. It also pairs Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale yet again. It's another one of those.
Is it in continuity?
No or yes.
Okay.
The idea here was, first of all, it's written by Jeff Loeb. It's art by Tim Sale with colors by Bjarne Hansen. And I say that because the color is amazing.
Okay.
And it's worth saying out loud. This was a directive from DC Comics where they're like, do a thing where people can buy it at a bookstore and they read it and they know who Superman is. Like, give us Superman again.
Right. Okay.
And
They seem to do that a lot.
they do that a
DC.
lot, like, because DC apparently doesn't know that they have essentially the Christmas story of comic book origins. And you could literally just ask someone what Superman's origin is, from the homeless to Donald Trump, and they would be like, it's about an orphan boy who's from a doomed planet, his rocket lands, a kindly couple raises him, and now he's Superman. Like, that's the fucking story!
Yeah.
DC's the only one who doesn't know the origin, apparently, and keeps... shit! His parents are killed, and he gets a ring of power. I don't know. Oh, Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale, write a damn book. Just familiarize me.
You gotta
Mark
clear
Wade,
it up.
Mark Wade, you do one too. God damn it, Jeff Johns, you do one too.
Well, isn't it? They gotta modernize it, right?
Right. Well, this
Right?
is
Like, it's not relevant anymore.
Yeah,
We're
Does
gonna
not look modern.
this is not. This is a Norman Rockwell
Oh,
painting.
okay. So this is like a nostalgia piece.
Yes.
Now, does this follow, like, the story of a man for all seasons in any way?
No.
Okay.
No. They're just playing with it.
Okay, because if they mirrored that, that would be weird.
Yes. It's not that.
All right.
No, this is just
Then why call it that?
the narrative device is that you see like it's like year one for Superman or year two, and it's like a year through seasons. Like each chapter is another season. It's 4 comics, it's 4 issues,
Okay.
broken up by
Right.
season. It starts in spring
Spring,
and then ends,
summer.
and,
Well,
In the winter.
This
Winter.
this coloring is amazing.
right. There's one particular double page splash that immediately solidified the book's future, and there's a sunset that Jonathan and Clark Kent share in Kansas, and it's breathtaking. This was it's once again another story where it's like, I'm Superman, Man of Tomorrow, Man of Steel, but I wasn't always like this, and then they go back. But
Okay.
and like many of these Jeff Loeb Tim Sale pairings where we see an origin again, or a retelling of the origin, it's wonderful. This one is the most stylized. Tim Sale really cranks up the Rockwell
Yeah, he does.
and
These
gives
faces
everyone.
are great.
Yeah, everyone is very distinct. He makes Superman's design. When I was a kid, I thought was really dumb.
You mean how he
looks
has
like a big
a
man
neck,
baby.
and it's just like a giant thumb face?
Yeah, he
Some of
basically.
those people on the internet wear just a thumb head.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
got a blank canvas and then a little face right
Yep.
there. Yeah.
My chin just goes into my neck.
But once again, it's an
Neck is-
exaggerated image of Superman.
Is it similar to the style that he was drawn in like the Golden Age or something?
I mean, it is very evocative of, like, I'm thinking of the Max Fleischer cartoons and the like the 30s.
Okay.
Like the old TV show. Right?
Yes, it's very George Reeves. It's every iteration of Superman at the time from like '98 merged into one.
Cool.
I see there's a tornado on this page.
Yes.
Does Pa Kent die in it?
Almost.
Oh.
Does
But
Superman refuse to save him on Pa Kent's orders?
Fuck no.
Okay.
Because he's goddamn Superman.
Right.
He saves the day.
No!
And everyone involved.
How could he do that?
Yeah, it's almost like...
Won't they hate him?
You know what's spectacular? Tiffany was looking at this and she goes, looks like Man of Steel stole a lot from this book. They did. But got it... It's like Zack Snyder read it and then got kicked in the head. And was like, I see all these images of, Metropolis and tornadoes and Superman being not sure of himself, and I'll just do that. This is charming and beautiful and important to the mythos, and it really makes you completely understand Superman in every which way.
Okay.
And it is hokey, and it is old and cemented in the past. It's so cemented in the past that we're like literally showing you 1940s imagery of America. But it is, because Superman is...
He's a myth.
He's a myth. He's Paul Bunyan.
Mhm.
Like, he's an American folk hero. This was and the story is basically that we see Superman as a young man, like 16, 17, and he's starting to develop his powers. It kind of ignores the Superboy era,
Okay.
and DC was very careful about that. They were always like, hey, stop doing the Superboy shit, because the Siegels and the Schusters might one day litigate their way back into ownership of it. So every 10 years or so, DC was like, don't do Superboy.
What was wrong with Superboy?
The fact that, like, the Siegels and the Schusters, the creators of Superman, argued that they got fucked out of the rights for Superman, or at least payment, residuals for the character. And they were, just like everybody.
Yeah,
but, like, you also worked for a company, and you were tasked with creating a character, and then you did, and now you got paid for it. That's the way it works. Except that your character became a national icon and makes billions of dollars. So you're kind of entitled to royalties,
Yeah,
but you never signed a paper that said that you were. And after both of them died, their estates took over litigating and just especially when Warner Bros. Took over ownership of DC. Then they were like, "Oh, we got the big monies now."
Yeah. Now there's actually something to win.
Yeah.
So did they specifically show something where it was Superman as a boy doing stuff?
Well, yeah. The idea being that, like, Superman's powers developed when he was a kid. Like, even in the Richard Donner movie, you know, when he comes out of the rock and he picks up the car.
Because the sun is hitting him when he's a baby. That makes sense.
Well, except that then they eventually establish, like, no, it's over a period of years of him absorbing solar radiation that he grows his power.
Oh.
Okay.
But when he was
That's
like
a more interesting story.
Yes. But, like, as a 9-year-old boy, as a 10-year-old boy, like, he got into some mischief, and he could kind of fly, and he, you know, like, Ma and Pa were always like, there's something not right about that boy, like, uh-oh, you know, we gotta be careful.
Right.
Even so much as Superman cartoon show in the 80s, it's the only one that I remember watching as a kid before the Bruce Timm cartoon. Mm-hmm. Between Superman's, in the 80s, there was, like, a short-lived cartoon show that almost expressly used the post-crisis origin of Superman. Like, as it was going on, like, as post-crisis Superman was being developed, the cartoon people were like, let's do it. Like, Lex Luthor's a corporate tycoon. Let's use that. Let's use, like, the imagery and the design for Superman, all that shit.
They were probably directed to, right? So that readers wouldn't be confused with what's happening.
Actually, I feel like back then they probably didn't give a shit.
They
were just
wanted
like,
ratings.
Just do whatever.
Right.
And this is easy. And we don't want it to be confusing.
Right.
Like, I think they were just like,
contemporary.
I think they were just worried people would be confused, as opposed to just underestimating their audience.
Right.
But at the end of every episode, they put a little button on it by doing a Young Adventures story where it was told from the perspective of Ma Kent, and she opened her photo album and it told a story about, like, young Superman, like, really giving the babysitter a hard time, or, you know, like, burning the barn down with his heat. You know, it's that kind of thing, and it's like a 2 to 3 minute long stupid joke.
Right.
But Superboy,
and in the midst of this chaos, we got out our old-timey photograph.
And
we set up the thing.
Yeah.
Poof,
6 hours later, we got this photo.
Yeah. Everyone had to hold real still for a while.
Yeah. So Superboy has been kind of established for a while, but no, there was always this kind of idea that when Superman was a young man, like 11 or 12 or even 13, he decided to become Superboy. And the Legion of Superheroes from, like, the 31st century went into the past and got him and brought him to the future to help them.
Right.
And it's through his adventures in the future that he learns to, like, use his powers. So when he's dropped back into the present or the past,
already ready.
He's really good at it. Yeah, he's the hero that he's the beginning of the hero that they know about and researched in the future.
That must have been a really big disappointment for them.
Oh yeah, where they're like,
"Oh, we need this hero who's amazing.
We'll go
Let's
back.
get him when he's 11.
Yeah,
defeat that monster."
And he's like, "Huh?" Yeah, it's.
They're like, "Ooh!"
But that's also a great story. Like, that's a really brilliant way to make your hero great without having any actual stories to back that up.
Yeah, because how do you become Superman in, like, what, 12th grade?
Yeah.
Like, anywhere in high school where you don't have enemies.
Here's how. By being raised by the Kents. That's at least how it's established in Superman for All Seasons.
Okay.
Superman's 17, his powers are starting to manifest, and Jonathan
Wait.
Kent.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What did that have to do with Schuster and...
The Schusters and the Siegel, the estates laid the claim that they, you could argue that they made Superman for the comics, but Superboy was created by them, and they could lay claim to... It was negotiation where they could eventually be like, okay, well then you own the residuals for Superboy.
Right.
Which is why they cut him out of all the
Yes!
And then we don't have to give you anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Or anything else.
Right.
You've already gotten everything from the Superboy. Because they actually published
You
Superboy
got your
comics.
paycheck a long time ago when you were working.
Yeah,
for
like
us. That's all you
$13.50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
a week.
Yeah.
Exactly. So in this story, we see Superman's like we're basically seeing Superman when he graduated high school, and then a couple of years later.
Okay.
We jump in time, but Superman's powers starting to develop, or at least they're starting to manifest in a real obvious way, and it's confusing the shit out of the Kents.
Right.
And Clark is scared and uncomfortable, and so is Jonathan in this really real and human way, where Jonathan he's a man from Kansas who's an old farmer, and he's raised this boy, and now he's an adolescent. So you're already having this
Right.
rift, this conflict between two men.
Yeah.
One is a burgeoning man, one's an old man, and
A really old man.
yeah, but you're kind of highlighting that whole relationship.
Yeah.
And also his powers are manifesting, and Jonathan's kind of like what's going to become of you?
Right.
Like who are you? And that
Well,
scares
and I
me.
don't know how
Right.
to raise you.
Exactly.
When you have these abilities.
Yeah, I don't know how to help you with that stuff.
Yeah.
Jonathan knows that he's an alien, though.
Yeah.
And does Clark know at this point?
It's
Have
kind of
they been raised
unclear, because in all the origins, they eventually tell him.
Right.
Usually when his powers manifest, they go, it's time to tell you. And they go into the barn, and they lift up the
And there's
spaceship,
Yeah.
and they
which you
show
somehow
him.
never knew was there.
Yeah. That's usually what they do. In this one, they don't, and it's only until later that Lex Luthor suggests he might be an alien that Clark, comes to that conclusion.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah,
So they
and I
don't
really
tell
kind of
him.
like that,
Interesting.
but I like it as
this-
part of this menagerie of origins.
Right. This doesn't have a scene where they see the spaceship.
No.
Like you're introduced and he's just living with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
that's kind of cool.
I like that too, because they're also just not wasting any fucking time. They're like, let's just do the story that we're here to tell.
Yeah.
There's already enough quiet moments. Superman, and here's the thing: Superman doesn't punch anything.
He took that girl flying!
Yeah. that's
Well,
all.
okay, so when Superman's powers manifest, you're 17 years old, you can fly. And you can also lift heavy objects without any effort.
Yeah, I would do that.
He's best friends with two people in Smallville, Kansas, Lana Lang and Pete Ross. And Pete Ross is this loudmouth kid who's a friend of theirs.
What about his best buddy Lex Luthor?
Yeah, no. In the Jeff Loeb Tim Sale Superman for All Seasons continuity, Lex Luthor is already a corporate tycoon. He already lives in Metropolis. That he's Metropolis' son.
Okay. That's kind of what I would have assumed.
That's what I always
before
until Smallville.
Yeah.
And Smallville kind of helped make that
Rewrite
happen.
it.
And then Superman Birthright cemented it in continuity.
Mhm.
That's fine. You know what? Superman
That's a good book.
Birthright handles that origin so well.
Yeah.
So much better than Smallville.
Well, that's the thing. Until Superman Birthright,
Yeah.
I always had the Smallville idea that, why are you here?
Yeah,
no, this is
it's
dumb.
It's like having Bruce and Clark meet in Smallville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
When
they
they're young.
did in this continuity later.
Oh, really?
But it's cute. It's like a scene where Alfred and Bruce their car breaks down.
So
and
it's like a chance encounter.
Yes, and the idea is that it's right after their deaths. So Batman's still 8. So he's not like, I'm off to
Right.
Tibet. So Alfred's like, I thought
eating rats
in the sewers. Yeah, no, he's never done that except in one thing.
Except that one time when he totally did.
Yeah, but no one likes that except for everyone who does. I think the conceit is that Alfred is like, I thought maybe like a week in the country would do Bruce some good. Change of scenery, give him like some wide open spaces, give him time to like kind of grieve a little bit. And they have a flat tire, and the Kents help them out. It's cute and fun, and they don't solve a mystery or anything.
They just,
Right.
they're nice.
They meet,
just
and
nice.
they also really and if they're young enough where they don't then become Batman Superman. Go, I think I knew
I
you.
remember you when
Yeah.
your car
You-
broke down, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, they don't do that.
Good. He was friends with Lana,
and Pete.
Pete.
And Pete is fun because Pete's like, one day I'm going to be out of this one-horse town. Can't wait to go off to Metropolis. The first chance I get right after graduation, I'm out of here. And they always go to this diner, and there's this like offensive Ganesha elephant statue that they have in the diner. And Pete always rubs the statue and says, "Wish I had $1 million," and then sits down. And that's his character. That's everything you need to know about Pete Ross, is that he's willing to rub a magic elephant rather than actually do anything to change his future.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah, that's his perspective.
You and the lottery have something in common. You never know.
Yeah. The difference is Pete Ross will never win the lottery. But there's a 1 in a trillionth chance that you
might.
Probably won't.
Is there a reason Pete won't win the lottery?
Because he's not buying a ticket, he's rubbing an elephant.
Oh, okay, thank God. I thought you meant something happened.
You actually can't win.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was literally going to be like, Pete can't win because he died.
Because he died right after that.
You miss every chance you don't take. So anyway, we meet Pete Ross, and he's a loudmouth. Everyone is just like, oh my God, this guy. Like, I can't wait for him to move out and to be his own...
And shut up.
Shut
up.
If he hates
Bothering
this
the
town so
corn.
much, why doesn't he just get out?
Exactly. Why don't you just
You
leave?
don't like Smallville, you can get out.
We'll ride him out on a rail, boys!
Yeah. And Lana Lang, who is and always has been Clark's high school sweetheart.
Okay.
And in Superman for All Seasons, it's more like she is in love with Clark Kent, and he is a doofus. Who's like, boy, Lana, can't wait to do the next thing. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, what's wrong with your eyes?
They're shaped like hearts. That's really weird.
Boy, you smelled me for an awful long time there, Lana. Lana doesn't care. Like, the idea here is that Clark, his powers are manifesting, and he's not sure what to do with them. Pete has, a pocket full of dreams and a lot of hope in his heart. And Lana wants to go wherever Clark goes.
Okay.
And when his powers manifest, the first thing that you saw him flying with this girl, you tell the girl that you like. That you got superpowers.
Of
I
course.
mean, that's what everyone does.
Yeah.
It's literally and anyone who doesn't is lying to you.
No, you show off.
No, you hide it. You hide it. You don't tell anybody.
If you know how to play the guitar, you'd never play it for the girls at a party. Yeah, you keep it a secret.
That's for you.
Oh, that's to share once they have a meaningful relationship with you.
Right.
Yeah, no.
No, what you do is
exploit.
You wear the guitar for a long time, but you never play it in front of them until one of them's like, "You play it, right? I've never seen you play it."
But
No, it's a thing. It's for me. It's so deep and it's just pain and.
But I'll tell you alone in my room.
But if you want to come back to my place,
yeah,
I may play you a song.
I may play you a song that I wrote just for you.
It's every douchebag in college.
It's every douchebag everywhere ever. So Superman does the same thing and takes her flying.
Cool.
Because he's like,
it scares the crap out of her.
It scares the crap out of her, and they graduate, and she leaves, and never tells anyone where she goes.
What? Damn.
Yeah.
Why does she?
Oh, they
leave?
also kiss.
They kiss.
Well, she's like, because it's okay. The book is broken up into 4 parts. Each part is a season. Each season is a narrator. First season, spring, it's narrated by Jonathan.
Okay.
And he's talking about how he's like, I was a pig-headed old man. I didn't know how to raise my boy. And the reality is, like, I raised him the way I raised him for the first 17 years. Like, that's really how I should have had my relationship with my son.
Right.
So the next one is Summer. It's narrated by Lois, and Lois is talking about how Superman has moved to Metropolis, and he's already Superman.
Okay.
Right.
The book ends in, the spring. And, with Clark deciding to go to Metropolis.
After Lana left.
After Lana left. And it's not because Lana left, it's just that that also happened.
Do that. Yeah. Okay.
And
no,
Pete has no influence on that, right?
Pete never leaves.
Oh.
He stays in Smallville.
That's because he keeps rubbing that elephant.
Does he represent something?
A little bit.
Okay. We'll let it.
Yeah.
Let
it
build.
It's never really there. But it's never really expressly said.
Right.
That he represents something specific, but draw your conclusions. But Clark isn't sure what he wants to do, but he knows that with these powers he has to do something. And he's like, I think he does something good in the beginning, like the tornado hits.
Yes.
The tornado hits Smallville, and he jumps into it and rescues, I think, a gas station attendant or something. And the gas station attendant's like, holy cow, Clark, I saw you fly into the No, but it couldn't have been. It had to have been the wind in the tornado, and it sucked us both up. We're both lucky to be alive.
And he's like, yeah, it's
right. That's a good one. Wow, I didn't
because it's a really small town, and you clearly know who I am.
Right. Oh, no, he's like, hey, Clark, thanks a lot. But also, wow. So Clark basically says that felt right, but I feel like I can do more. Mm-hmm. And so he basically says, I've got to go to Metropolis because it's a huge city. I can do more there.
There's more people that need saving.
And also, like, he's not really sure what he wants to do or how he wants to do it. Mm-hmm. He just knows that the answer lies in Metropolis. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because it's the biggest city near Smallville, right. And it's also a representative of... I mean, it's always referred to as the City of Tomorrow. Okay. So it's always been this, like, beacon.
Okay. Right.
For civilization.
Like, so that's where the future is going.
Yeah, and so he goes there
for the man of tomorrow.
Exactly. So he goes there. He's Superman for a while. All that shit. Clark moves into apartment, meets Lois, blah. You get that shit. It's done. Mm-hmm. We've done it to death.
And it's not like they... Does she know it's him?
Who?
Lois.
No.
Lois doesn't know it's him.
No. It's still the beginning
or anything.
No, it's still the beginnings of Superman's career, but she's named him, you know... and Superman...
She's already, like, obsessed with him.
A little bit.
Writing stories about him.
She is writing stories about him, but so is Clark.
That's the thing. It's getting her a lot of good coverage.
Yes, but it's also great because Clark is, in this story, an actual reporter, and he's beating her to the bylines, and it's driving her crazy.
How does he do it?
Yeah. And Clark still makes his best effort as Clark to go out with Lois, and she still rebuffs him.
Oh, okay.
And Lois winds up sneaking onto some submarine that's stolen by militants. Mm-hmm. It's a nuclear submarine, and they're going to launch at Metropolis unless they get blah, blah, blah. And then Superman just goes into the ocean, picks up the submarine, drops it on the land, where the generals are all waiting for them. And, one of the generals, or one of the militants, deboards the sub with Lois. And that's when you find out Lois has been on the sub the whole time.
Right.
And at some point, Superman's like, how did you even get on the sub? And she's like, a girl has her secrets. Because that's the thing. Like, Lois always gets into some trouble for the scoop. Mm-hmm. And winds up needing to be rescued by Superman. And that happens in this. And Lex Luthor's on the scene. And Lex Luthor is trying to date Lois. And that's something that they've always been that they've played with since post-Crisis. This idea that, like, Lex is interested in her too.
Okay.
I've never really liked that. But they do it in everything. Like Superman Red Son, Birthright, everything.
I can see it working out because not only does he have a reporter on his side then who can, like, twist the press in his way, but, I mean, she's successful. She's attractive. Why wouldn't
And she's also, like, Metropolis' #1 gal. So I guess that makes sense. I mean, I appreciate it, and it's not dwelled upon in this book.
She's not interested in... Oh, it's not dwelled upon. Never mind. Screw it.
She doesn't care about Lex. She's just much like Mary Jane. She didn't care about Harry Osborn. She's just like, whatever, we're having a good time.
Right.
But you're a weirdo. Like, I don't really...
Yeah. Well, it could work to her advantage, but she's not actually going to, like...
seal the deal.
Yeah. Well, this is the weird part, because from what I can tell, Lex right now is a corporate mogul, but he's not bad.
He is bad, and here's why. That submarine, all the shit in there is LexCorp stuff. And here's the thing. Lex Luthor in this is motivated to become Metropolis' favorite son at the expense of Superman. He was. Then Superman came in
showed up and
with his altruism and stole his thunder. And that's the thing that is explored in this, and I think also in Birthright, the idea that Lex Luthor is not a man that you insult. Mm-hmm. And when Superman showed up, he insulted him.
Yeah.
And when the submarine is delivered, the terrorist is like, I'll kill Lois, and there's this emasculating sequence where Lex Luthor goes, don't worry, Lois, I've got this. I've negotiated with everyone, including terrorists. And as he's saying terrorist, Superman flies over the 3 feet away to the terrorist, takes the gun away, and flies back before he finishes his sentence. Crushes the gun, and then is like, Lex...
I got it.
I've got it, Lex. Also, if I find out that you were involved in this, there'll be hell to pay, Luthor. And then leaves, and he takes Lois with him.
Right.
And she's like, no one in Metropolis talks to Lex Luthor like that. And he goes, well, it's about time somebody did. which is like, yeah.
Is Lex Luthor, so he's like a mob boss kind of. He runs the city.
Well, he's so powerful.
He owns everything. He doesn't have to be like a mobster.
No
one
challenges him.
No, Lex Luthor is a business mogul who's also incredibly selfish and came from an abusive family. His father used to beat him all the time. Because at one point, Lex narrates the story.
Oh.
And in his narration, of course, all he talks about is himself.
Right.
And how the world is viewed through that lens. And at one point, he tells this story about how his father used to beat him with the intent on making him cry. And he's like, but I didn't.
I wouldn't cry for that man.
Yeah.
He wouldn't get
And when
it.
he was finished beating me, I just looked him in the eye. And I destroyed him. And I'm like, cool, but also yikes.
Yeah.
But it also informs who Lex Luthor is.
It's a really crazy background because, like, that's empowering to Lex. But it's still scary.
Yes, and it's also sad, but he's also still a bad guy.
Yep.
So at one point, also okay, so you just came upon these green and purple guys.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor will occasionally have a big, cool power suit to fight Superman, and it's designed exactly like these little Lex drones.
Yeah.
In an effort to combat Superman's heroism, Lex does it in the only way he knows how.
He builds robots.
To be heroes who patrol Metropolis for him.
Oh, thank God. I thought he was going to create bots to cause havoc.
Oh my God.
Well, okay. So
I'm like, that's the opposite of what you do.
They probably will.
Well, there's a big fire, and the Lex bots are on the scene, and the Lex bots are like, Superman, stand aside, like, we've got this, and the building's been evacuated, and Superman's like, well, you don't have X-ray vision, and there is a person still in there, so get out of here before you muck it up. So he goes in there, rescues the lady, and then gets rid of the fire, puts out the fire entirely with a whirlwind or something.
Yeah.
And he rescues this lady, and she's like a renowned biochemist or something like that, and he rescues her, and he's like, are you okay? And she's like, thanks, and blah. And after that, she becomes obsessed with him.
Oh. Yeah, she does.
And Lex finds out about that and uses it to his advantage.
Because she's a biochemist.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he winds up using her. He winds up kidnapping her and subjecting her to a Clockwork Orange-esque torture, where with the eye of Superman, and making her even more obsessed, unhealthily so, with helping
how great
him.
he is.
To what end? I'll tell you to what end. He uses her research to engineer a biochemical virus that he unleashes on Metropolis.
Oh.
And when everyone's affected, everyone starts to die. And in fact, there's this moment where in the Daily Planet, Clark's there, and Lois is like, how does Clark keep scooping me? And she goes over to his desk, and she reads a letter he's writing to his mom. And he's... And it's cute because of how human he is. Mm-hmm. Because Lana Lang left, and she leaves the story. But throughout the story, Clark is really interested in where she went. So he's just, where's the girl that got away? Mm-hmm. Like, whatever happened to her? So he when he's writing to his mom, he writes, like, did you hear anything else from LL? Which, of course, same initials as Lois Lane.
Oh.
Or something like, like, I really miss LL, or I feel like I have feelings for her. And...
because everyone refers to someone else with their initial.
It's just so that Lois will read the note and be like, you writing to your mom about me? And he's like, it's not you. Her name's Lana Lang. And she's like... and that's as she's suffering from the virus. And it's cute because the last thing she says is, who is Lana Lang? Where you're like, oh, Lois, you get a little jealous. But then, Superman's like, shit, everyone's falling apart. He goes to this scientist who was in a quarantine at the time. And through a quarantine, door, he's talking to her. And he's like, what's going on? She's like, actually, I was not affected because I was in this suit. And I guess you weren't affected because you're Superman. Mm-hmm. She goes, but, this is kind of beyond our abilities. Have you talked to Lex Luthor? Mm. So he goes to Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor's fine. But he's also in, a quarantine in his office. Mm-hmm. And that's when Lex says, I've got my top people working on it. But also,
which people?
Top men.
But then Lex says, well, we don't know where the virus came from. It could be alien in origin.
Oh.
Maybe it's you.
Maybe you killed everybody.
Yeah, maybe you're killing everyone. Yeah. Yeah. But Superman is like, holy shit. But then Lex then unveils the biochemist who's been brainwashed.
Yeah.
And creates this silly supervillain, but not, named Toxin, who is the biochemist, and she has this huge, like, syringe kind of thing. She's got this silly costume.
Yeah.
And only she can administer the... only she can administer the antidote.
Okay.
That they synthesize.
Like one at a time to everybody?
No, into the atmosphere.
Oh,
the idea is she needs to introduce it into the atmosphere, and then it will cause a chemical reaction in the clouds, and it'll make it rain.
Ah.
And the rain will interact with everybody and make them okay again.
Right.
Or whatever. And Lex is like, you should let her, because all she wants to do is help you.
Okay.
And that's how the brainwashing worked. It's that, like, she is convinced to create this virus and to be this toxin, so that she can finally repay and help Superman.
Right.
And so he carries her into the clouds, she creates the antidote, and her overexposure to the virus and to the antidote kills her.
Oh.
And he brings her back to LexCorp, and he's like, I can't hear her heartbeat. And Lex is like, leave her alone before you kill us all. Leave here.
Trying to make him...
He's trying to make him doubt himself.
Yeah, that's an excellent way to do that.
This woman you rescued,
right.
you may have killed.
Right.
There's actually a cool moment
and you almost killed everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now she can never rat on me. Ha!
Yeah, that's true. And so Superman leaves. Metropolis goes back to Smallville.
Does he go to Mars and build a
fucking clock? No.
No.
Oh,
no. Unlike separating himself from humanity,
right.
he goes to his parents' house. And it's a sweet scene in the rain where he just says, like, or that's not in the rain, I'm sorry. It's a sweet scene where he just it's night and he goes to his mom and dad's house. He's just like, Mom, Dad, I think I need to come home for a little while. And it's this really cool scene because, like, every moment in this book, every moment of self-doubt, every moment of heroism, every moment of altruism or of selflessness is, it's larger than life because it's Superman. But you could translate it to everybody.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, every time you falter, every time you fail the first time you fail as an adult, all you want to do is go home. And that's what Superman does.
Right.
And he spends that season, that winter, home in Smallville.
Although he's on the couch because they turned his room into like a workout.
Oh, yeah. And, they want him to help out around the house, and he's not interested. And by the way, Lana Lang also came home at the same time.
Oh, thank God, because if she was home and they didn't tell him, he'd be
I
like,
know. He'd be like, oh, he would have snapped their necks or something. So,
because that's what he does.
That's what Superman does. That's a true hero. So,
does what he must.
While Superman's gone, the Lex bots, of course, are patrolling the area.
Fascists and
they don't take over Metropolis or anything. No,
there's this moment where there's this kid throwing snowballs, and the robot comes up to him and tells him to stay inside.
Okay, there's this kid. He plays on the
Sounds
roof.
like a fascist to me.
Well, he is. No, because Superman does the same thing. Earlier in the book, there's a little kid. He's playing on the roof. He almost falls. Superman catches him, and he's like, "Don't play on the roof."
Oh, he's playing on the roof.
And then a Lex bot does the same thing.
I see.
Plus, a snowball from 3 stories up is really going to hurt.
Yeah, it's true.
It could go through your skull.
No, but it would really hurt.
Yeah.
That's like a penny from the Empire State Building.
Yeah. Anyway.
It would not go through your skull.
No, it would not. It's an
Terminal
urban
velocity,
legend.
people.
So yeah, so Superman goes home, and the story is just him at home kind of being like, okay, I thought I needed to go to this big place and be this hero, but I failed. Mm-hmm. So, maybe I'm not supposed to be this big hero. Maybe I'm not supposed to do this.
Stayed in Smallville.
Exactly. And Lana and Clark meet up with Pete and go to the diner.
Aww.
And Pete doesn't rub the elephant. And Lana says something like, hey, you forgot the elephant. And he's like, Like, oh, yeah, no, I don't do that, because that's what children do. That's bullshit.
Oh.
It's also because, he didn't leave, and he doesn't really know, his own self-worth, and he's the kind of person... everyone in this story is an allegory or an avatar for the people in your life that you had, your first love, your high school romance, the guy who never left home, the guy who, the big man on campus. You got the people who, genuinely wanted to do good, and so they did. That's Superman. And Pete is just kind of even Lana left. All you wanted to do was be Mrs. Clark Kent, and you left and became something.
Mm-hmm. And Pete's just like...
And Pete stayed behind.
No, I'm a grown-up now.
Yeah, exactly. And Pete's the kind of person who's just like, he's becoming resentful and cynical. Mm-hmm. The Lana monologue, of course, narration comes in that form, in the winter, for Smallville, where she betrays the truth that when Clark said to Lana, meet me in the field right after graduation, I have something to tell you. She was like, this is when he's going to propose to me.
Oh.
And instead he told her that he was an alien from the stars that had superpowers and had to leave forever to fight crime.
Right.
And that completely shattered her worldview, and she had to leave.
Broke her heart.
And but it also made her go like, I don't know anything. Like, I've been wasting my time.
Also, thank God I just didn't rely on my life for this one guy.
Right. Like, she did, and now she's like, my world is different and changed, and what am I going to do? And so she left, and then she came back because she realized, like, I was running away, which is something that Superman wouldn't do.
Oh.
She went out into the world, and she saw it all, and she tried it all, and then came home a different, better, changed person.
Because she knew what she wanted.
Yeah. And, or she has a better idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so anyway, there's a flood in Smallville, Superman saves the day at the end. Like, that's...
Well, and then he realizes that he can be Superman, and he goes back to
Yes,
yeah.
that's right.
Well, he realizes he can be Superman anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but he needs to go to He needs to go to Metropolis.
And by the way, there really wasn't any evidence that I actually caused that virus, so now that I think about it...
that was probably Lex Luthor.
Well, I'm not making people here sick. What
there was
there's
a moment
sick here, yeah.
There's a cool moment where he's confronting Lex, where he says, I bet that if because Lex is like, it's not me. Could be you.
Could be maybe two.
Yeah, and Superman goes, I have a feeling if I smashed your window, an antidote would magically appear within the next few minutes. But I'm not like you.
Right.
So I will find another way. Mm-hmm. It's like, yes!
And he flies out the window anyway.
Yeah. So then Superman, there's a flood in Smallville, it almost destroys the town, Superman saves the day. And Superman's kind of like, do I have the right to save the day?
Right.
Because I am fallible. I'm not God.
Right.
So I have the right to do that? And the answer is yes. The world needs a Superman. Mm-hmm. So he goes and saves the day, and of course, by the way, writes a front page headline about Superman saving the day, and beats Lois Lane to the byline.
Oh, and by the way, she totally figured out that he's Clark Kent because, Mom and Pa were out there, and then Superman saved the day out there while, no one was saving the day.
There actually is a moment where Lois is like, so Superman's been gone for almost an entire season, and Clark takes a bunch of sick days, and then she's at his desk, and she's like, and he's never around when Superman's around. And that is ridiculous! And then completely dismisses it out of her mind.
Good.
She has an opportunity to make the connection.
Yep. And he also looks exactly like him, were it not for 2 round pieces of glass over his eyes.
Whoa. Clark doesn't run around in spandex suits.
They wear different things.
Yeah.
But also, and this is something that Frank Quitely does with All-Star Superman that is perfect, and it's also illustrated wonderfully almost 10 years prior in Superman for All Seasons. We see how artists handle this huge Superman as Clark Kent. In this version, Clark Kent looks like an oaf. He looks like, slow.
Yeah.
He just looks like this big, dumb ox, who played football. He's from Kansas, and he lifted big things. He worked on a farm, you know what I mean? And then he comes to the big city, he writes these beautifully written, Pulitzer-winning articles. He's a mystery, which, of course, is irresistible for Lois Lane.
Right.
It's even funnier because, he's an oaf, but he's an oaf in a 3-piece suit.
Well, that's the thing. It's nobody wears 3-piece suits anymore, Clark. What are you doing? You look like a dumbass.
You fuddy-duddy.
That's exactly right. And
you don't have Superman's sense of style.
Yeah, of dressing like the American flag. With underwear on the outside of your pants. Which I like. But, anyway, Superman for All Seasons, the story is irrelevant. The art is glorious, and the coloring is top-notch. I've never seen that trail where it's the 3 colors in anything before or since.
Yeah.
It's
That's
odd.
Really cool. It is odd.
But it's beautiful. By the way, the last thing Superman does is he saves that stupid kid on the roof again.
He's like, what did I say?
Actually,
What do you say?
the first time he saves the kid,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's when Superman first comes on the scene,
Mm-hmm.
and the kid is like, "Wow, like that's a cool outfit,"
Mm-hmm.
and Superman says, "Thanks, my mom made it for me."
Oh,
Just like
and then the kid
that's
goes,
kind of cute.
dork.
exactly. That's how he saves the day in the beginning, and then at the end he saves the kid again,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, "Thanks, like my name's whatever,
Trevor.
Trevor. My friends call me Trev,"
Right.
and he says, "Thanks, Trev. Like people call me Superman."
And Trev's like, yeah, I know.
I
Yeah,
know.
no shit. But no, it's the point of being
It's a
like
weird thing to say right now.
it is. But
I was doing a thing. Never mind.
no, it's a whole. I've had a whole adventure, like a personal one.
I realized who I am.
Yeah, I'm embracing.
I'm Superman.
And he's
Yeah,
like,
I know you are.
Right,
That's
but
what
you're
everyone
also-
calls you.
Oh my god. Never mind.
the whole
Go
thing.
back on the roof.
Yeah,
Maybe
you're also
it'll fall.
12. Anyway, Superman for All Seasons is a beautiful story. It's awesome and fun. You're not in it for the action, although there's plenty of it. He does all kinds of things. He stops, like, he can traverse mighty rivers.
Yeah.
He stops locomotives.
Right.
He
But he doesn't have like an epic final showdown.
No.
His showdown is more like spiritual.
Yes.
Yeah.
His showdown is with himself.
Yeah.
I like this
Yeah.
because, at least from what I've seen so far, the dialogue is not criminy, Superman. We're having a golly good
The art's criminy.
The
and
art is like that,
And the
but
people in Smallville, like there's a trio of old guys who've been playing Pinochle in the hardware store forever.
right.
But also, by the way, like, and they say things like that, but they're also archetypes in and of themselves. And when Clark comes back after he quits being Superman for a little while, one of them died,
Oh.
and it's showing like
Yeah,
like the
stuff-
world change, like the
stuff changes,
world
yeah.
moves on.
Yeah.
But
Time
the
passes.
story
Yeah.
is very out of
Cemented.
time.
Yes,
Because it could
Yeah.
be anything.
that's
Yeah,
the thing. Like
yeah.
it
It's a universal theme.
could be a period piece, or it could be today.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And it's the art that just cements it when it is.
Yeah.
yeah. Clearly,
Like these gas pumps that are from 100 years ago.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I've seen gas stations that keep them.
Right. Yeah. Well, what's interesting about this and why it's so great, not having read it, but why it seems like it would be so great is that it's a story that literally works in any time period. Like it could have been 1,000 years ago. It could have like leaving home, going to find yourself. Like that's always
Exactly.
going to be a part of the human experience.
It doesn't hurt that his parents' vacation is one of the oldest.
Yeah, farming.
So
Yes.
it's like
Yep.
he could literally be raised
Yep.
by farmers
There's
in the
always gonna be
16th
people
century.
who work the land. Like,
Yeah. Or simple folk from the land who like have
who
core
live in-
values.
There's always going to be rural areas and cities.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
Exactly. No, I highly recommend this for a young graduate in high school.
Okay.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the art, I don't think this has been better than it is in this.
Mhm.
And I also think that this is a huge influence on the image of Superman for years to come.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be until Birthright where they're like, I guess we got to do the origin again. And by the way, Birthright, beautiful and
Another
perfect
great
on its
book,
own,
yep.
and does have a big final fight at the
Yes.
end, and
Yeah.
does make Luthor into more of a bad guy, and also connects him. This book inspired the show Smallville.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Huh.
they got it wrong.
Well, they can't do the same thing.
No, that would be boring.
Yeah.
Also, he couldn't be Superman.
Right.
Also, it's the WB.
well, and we have to get Lex
Yeah.
Luthor into a show about Superman.
About that, and we're coming close to our another 10 number,
Oh.
episode,
nice.
which means it's time for a crisis.
Ooh, which one will it be?
Which one? I have 3 crises we could do.
Okay.
So,
Hedge your bets.
yeah. You win nothing, but
No, but like, you
but
know.
respect.
But you'll be like, I called it, and we'll be like,
Yeah.
okay.
Sure you did.
Yep, and I'll thumbs up your comment. Hey, if you want to help out the show, make it look a little bit better, you can always go to patreon.com/ComicPop. Check it out, see if the goals and whatever is right for you. You know, the rewards that you might enjoy. Anyway, we'll see you guys next week with an all-new episode of Back Issues. I'm Sal.
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Ben.
Thanks a lot for watching.